Welcome everybody to this episode of CF Talks. That's it. That's all I get.
That's all you get.
There we go. My name is Rudy LaRose, and guess what? Every Tuesdays at 6:30, I'm in the building, indeed. And I'm excited to have each and every one of you watching wherever you're watching from tonight, because tonight, this one's for your boy. You know what I'm saying? We got the nerds representing. Now, don't get it twisted, okay? Steve Jobs was a nerd. You know what I'm saying? Bill Gates is a nerd. You know what I'm saying? Your boy Zuckerberg's a nerd. The nerds are representing tonight. You know what I mean? We may not look like your typical nerds. We don't have the pocket square and whatnot, but we do got some stories for you. But tonight, because we have a special guest in the house, and I'm super excited. Before I let you know what's going on, I need you to do me a huge favor. I need you to do a couple of things for me. Number one, let us know that you are here. You are present. You're here with us. Let us know who you are, what city you represent. Everybody loves to represent their city. You know what I'm saying? Some people love to well, let me take it back. Some people want to represent the next door city. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to talk about their city. They're going to talk about the next door city where they're from, right? But tonight, I'm representing Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We got a couple of people representing some other places. Oh, no, other places. But put in the chat where you represent, who you are, where you're representing. And as you're doing that, pick up another browser, go to www.streamyard.com/Facebook and add StreamYard to your Facebook so that we actually know who you are. And the second thing I want you to do for me is, in the comments section, put in hashtag heart level. If you're resonating with what's being said, if something dropped, I was like, man, that was some really good stuff, put in hashtag heart level in the comment section. And of course, if you're watching the replay, put in hashtag replay as well. But I'm super excited to have you all watching from wherever you're watching. We also are on YouTube and Facebook. If you're on YouTube, you're going to be going to youtube.confidencefactor.com. Again, youtube.confidencefactor.com or facebook.confidencefactor.com. We are excited tonight because today we are going to be talking about some amazing content as always. And tonight's message is about leveraging pivot moments for entrepreneurial success. We're going to be talking about with the gentleman tonight. I'm not going to mention his name, but he is one of my partners and not in crime, because we don't do crime around here. We solve crime. That's what we do. But he is going to be talking about some of the pivot moments in his life that's caused him to be where he's at today in his entrepreneurial journey. So I'm excited to have him tonight. And of course, before we bring him on the show, I could not do this without this guy right here, this guy up here, and this guy down here, okay? This guy up here and this guy down here. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the professor and the producer. I like that, the professor and the producer. Mr. Darren here and Lamont Witt in the building as always. What's up, fellas?
Hey, man, it's another Tuesday. We're glad to be here, man. Fired up for another Confidence Factor Talks. You know, we're always bringing the value. We're here to help entrepreneur-minded men to pursue their purpose by developing their confidence factor. And
that's
how
right.
do we do that? How do we do that, fellas?
Man, we do that several ways, but one way we do that, we apply the SMART principle.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a SMART principle. Before we even talk about a SMART principle, it's all about having heart-level conversations that lead to transformation, right? And so we have heart-level conversations within this community among men. We bring in experts who just lead from the heart. They share their hearts to help us to transform in our professional life, in our personal life as well. And we want to thank you guys for continuing to support Confidence Factor in our efforts to impact the lives of over 5 million men. You heard me right. That's right. 5 million men. That is our goal. That is the big audacious goal that we have here at Confidence Factor. And we do that through, empowering the men through our SMART principle, as Rudy just mentioned. Number one, it's all about self-mastery. Having the master of self, having a self-worth that drives everything else, right? We live by a certain set of rules inside this community. Outside the community, people live by different rules, right? They live by different rules that doesn't necessarily work. We are reimagining what it looks like to be a man, we're imagining what it looks like to be an entrepreneur-minded man. And we have some different rules in this community that helps us to grow and succeed. And of course, self-mastery is important, but you have to have some accountability, right? That's why we created this space for men to be able to have the accountability to lock arms with other entrepreneurs, lock arms with other people who have the same mindset, who can support you in the goals and the dreams that you have for your life, to make sure that when you say that what you want, that you're going to be taking the action steps necessary to get there. It's all about integrity. It's all about being a man of your word. That's what accountability is all about. But last but not least is having the resources and tools necessary to be able to build the things that you say you want to build. If you have a goal, you have to have the right systems. You have to have the right process. You have to have the right information. And so we here want to provide the men as well with the right system, the tools and resources. And that's why we bring guests in, like the amazing guests that we have on today, to share insights, to share knowledge, to share resources, to share tools that we can use and implement to build a successful life, but not just a successful life. And this is something that's critical and different about what we talk about here with Confidence Factor. Tony Robbins said something that we hold dear in this community, that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So we don't want to reach success and feel unfulfilled. Too many people are going through that in society today, that they're chasing some sort of imaginary object, some external thing, but inside they're feeling empty. And so in this community, it's all about making sure that when we reach the levels of success, when we reach our goals, we also feel fulfilled, that we're contributing in a high level. We call it our Unleash Your Riches process. And so that's what we're all about. And we're excited to have another conversation this week that's going to lead to your transformation. So we're excited for you to tap in. What's going on, Lamont?
Man, I'm just happy to be here. I love your introduction as always. And, when we talk about Unleash Your Riches, we understand and want you to understand what riches stands for. It stands for relationships, because without those relationships, whether it be family, network, business, without those good relationships, it's hard to grow. And so a part of Confidence Factor and our Unleash Your Riches program is really fostering how do we build great relationships in our community. Next is income, because I'm not trying to be a small business that doesn't grow. So it's all about that income, community, and contribution. There's a great professor who has the quote that if you want to raise your standard of living, you have to increase your standard of giving, right? So community and contribution. Then we have health and fitness. Here at Confidence Factor, we believe that your health is your greatest wealth. And so without concentrating on that health, how can you be rich? You have all the stuff, but you don't have the health, right? And then we have education, and Confidence Factor Talks is a part of that, but also our curriculum inside of Unleash Your Riches is to help that education process. And then the foundation of it all is spirituality. And so we have to be connected to God, source, in order to bring in what we want. And so being a part of this community and Unleash Your Riches is just a tool that we use to help men level up in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's exciting. So we're talking about pivot moments. And we know that all of us have pivot moments, right? In fact, one of my favorite quotes, and you guys hear me talk about it all the time, comes from Winston Churchill, and he says that success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. So the question is, when you go through these failure moments, and we know failure just only means learning, failure only means growth, failure just only means an opportunity for you to be able to look at your life and be able to make some new decisions, right? When you go through these failure moments, guess what? How do you pivot, right? What type of mentality, mindset do you bring to the table to help you to make that necessary shift, right? What do you do in those moments, okay, of transformation? What do you do in those moments to help you to keep your enthusiasm high so you can keep going to that next failure, until you get to the place called success? And so that's what we're talking about here. As entrepreneurs, we're going to go through challenges. We're going to go through transitions. We're going to go through obstacles. And so the question is how fast can you pivot through these obstacles and challenges so that you can arrive at success? And I'm excited that we have a guest tonight who has not only is going to share tonight, but his life is a demonstration of what it looks like to keep pivoting to the process of on this game called life and succeed at a high level. So I know we are at 6:40, and I certainly want to give this gentleman as much time to share his story, share his path with us. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Rudy to do an introduction to our guest and get this show on the road. Make it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I love about our community is when we talk about leveling up our riches. It's not just it's not just we don't just talk about it. We model it as best as we can. And when we get together, that's when we really see that come to play. And I know a few days ago, or a week ago, actually, you guys got together on Friday and was able to provide some tremendous value to some guys who really needed to hear that and know that this type of community exists. And one of the reasons why we have guests like the guest that I'm about to bring on is because he understands that he is not just a CEO. He's also a father. He's also a husband. He's also, an entrepreneur. He's also a man. He's also happened to be a black male. He also happens to be a black Haitian male. He's also a technologist. He's wearing all of these hats and has all of these things going on, and of course has everybody looking at him. From his community peers to his family. Of course to his clientele. And what I love about his story is that even from the beginning, as he's been navigating through all the nuances of life that has brought him to where he is today, his mental aspect, his positive attitude, his drive to continue to grow has never stopped. And to this day, I know him to be someone that I look up to, and someone that I admire his enthusiasm for life, for his community, for his family, and for growth for himself. And I couldn't be more excited. I don't know why it took so long for him to get here, but I couldn't be more excited to introduce to you guys from Arc Solvers, ladies, yes, you ladies, because you got to share this with you guys, and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Reginald Andre in the building, indeed. What's going on, sir?
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction, Rudy, Gary, Lamont. Thank you. Yep, I got it. I'm just following.
Hard level, baby. Hard level.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
I'm doing good, man. I think you waited until I turned 40. My birthday was yesterday, and so I hit the big 40, and I think that's what you were waiting for. You're like, I got to make sure this guy's mature.
Listen, you still look 39 to me. You know what I'm saying? So.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, we want to wish you a happy birthday, man. Happy belated birthday to you, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here in that big 40, man. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I'm excited that you're able to make it, man, Reg. And of course, you and I go way back to MSA days. And as we get started with this conversation, we know tonight we're talking about leveraging these pivot moments in your life. And of course, we're going to get to that when you're talking about your entrepreneurial journey. But tell us a little bit about who is Mr. Andre at the core of it all. Who is Mr. Andre?
On my LinkedIn profile, I say I put a man of God. Then from there, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a tech enthusiastic. That's what I am right there. Especially in that order. And
what from the startup of your journey, think about, going back to when you were a kid, something you saw, something you experienced, something that perhaps told you that, maybe there's something to this technology. What was it when you were younger that led you to where you are today?
Well, starting from the beginning, I liked computers, but I didn't even know I liked computers. My mom had brought me one of those old school Dell desktops. And then from there, here I am. I find myself working at CompUSA. You guys remember CompUSA?
Yep.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, CompUSA is like a Best Buy. And, one day this guy comes in and he buys like shopping cart after shopping cart after shopping cart full of items. And at the end of the sale, he asked me, you know, to set this up for him. And CompUSA didn't have what you call like the Geek Squad, where they'll come to your house and set up everything. And from there, I said, hey, I can do it. I was always just, you know, doing work for my friends and family, just setting up their computers, taking out the viruses and things like that.
And did you know back then that that's something that you were going to be going into, you know, for the rest of, not the rest of your life, but as a career?
Oh, no, absolutely not, man. I was actually supposed to become an English teacher. And yeah. And as I was graduating high school, and it was time to actually now go into the program, and my GPA was too low. I don't know, it was a 2 point something. It was something embarrassing. And I was trying to go to a local university, and the university was like, we'll let you into the school, but we're not going to let you into the program. And if you want, you can take journalism, and they'll take you in. And from there, just, you know, raise your GPA. And then from there, we'll talk about, you know, maybe you coming into our education program.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And so walk us through that. You're not going through school. You know, you've gone into all these nuances in your life, and you're trying to, of course, figure it out, because I got pretty much the same story. What was it that you said, you know, maybe I should look into something different? What was it for you?
Yeah, so just going back to that CompUSA story, and you know, we talked about pivot in just a few minutes ago, and from there, this guy asked me to come to his house, and I grew up in Miami Gardens, and all I knew was Miami Gardens. Anytime my mom wanted to take us to the beach, it would be Hallandale Beach, and I didn't know anything outside of the South Florida. And here he is. This guy gives me his address, and it said 400 Alton Road. And if anybody is not familiar with Alton Road, that is like the Manhattan of Miami Beach.
Yep.
And here I am, 20 years old, driving on the 395, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a different world. I'm seeing the palm trees and the boats and the cruise ships and the girls, and I'm like, I was never exposed to this. You know, my mom is first generation Haitian American, and you know, she worked 3 jobs, and I just stayed in my little Miami Gardens. And from there, I set up his computers, and I set up his routers, his TVs. And one of his friends comes in and says, hey, can you set up my house? And from there, I went to his friend's house. And within the 6-month period, this guy that I met at CompUSA is sending me all of his friends to set up their computers. And at the end, at the end of the 6 months, he calls me. He says, hey, Andre, I never told you this, but I'm a retired 41-year-old multi-millionaire. And I know you're going to school, you know, to try to become an English teacher, and you're being at CompUSA, but I want to start a business with you. Whatever you're making at CompUSA, I'm going to double it. I went to my mom and I said, Mom, what should I do? And my mom, again, first generation Haitian American, she said, Regi,
get a good job.
Get a good job. This is why. This is the American dream. This is why I came to the country. Right. Do it. Go do it. 9 years later, Rudy, things are great. We are the kings of South Beach. Everybody knows us. We're over $1 million in sales. We got about 8 employees. And I go to my boss one day and I said, hey, you know, my business card says managing partner. My email address says vice president. But there was nothing actually in writing that actually said that, you know, we were partners in writing. And my boss tells me, yeah, no problem. Give me a couple of months and I'll go ahead and get that for you. We'll get the lawyer and he'll draft up something. A couple of months comes by. He calls me into his office. He asked me to close the door. And he said, Andre, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to let you go.
Whoa. Wow.
That's what I said. And, you know, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, 9 years with this guy, running the company 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, building this business, and he lets me go.
Wow.
And I can remember in the parking lot thinking, what am I going to do? This is 2009. It's rock and roll. You know, you were making a lot of money, but I was living check to check. I had $100 in my name. Wow. My son, 2 years old at the time, I had a mortgage, and I was like, I don't know what to do. But I remember the quote from Rocky that says, it's not how hard you get hit, it's how you get back up.
Yep.
That was another pivoting moment from there. And I said to myself, you know what? I can do this. I had a non-compete, so I couldn't go after the old clients. And I said, let me just start. I started in a new area. I printed out some new flyers, just started knocking on doors and building the business one customer at a time. Fast forward 13 years, we are now one of the top cybersecurity companies. You see the awards there. We were voted the fastest growing IT company 3 years in a row. And that's all to tell you, you know, it doesn't matter your circumstance. It doesn't matter where you grow up. It's how you take that punch in life, and it's what you do from there.
Man, that's amazing story. And I want us to really underscore a couple of things, Andre, because I don't want us to miss the lesson. Right? I don't want us to miss the lesson in your story. So take us back to you and this guy, of course, you know, got together, working 9 years, you're building the business, you're working 18 hours a day, really grinding. You're making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
How is it? And this is a lesson for all of us, because I really want us to deal with this, because some people are in this situation right now. You're making a lot of money. How is it that you're making a lot of money, but still living paycheck to paycheck? How does that happen? How does it happen for people when they are working and making a lot of money, but still only have $100 in their bank account? No, and listen, I'm asking this question just because we want to really talk about a lesson, and I'm sure you've learned from that experience to be able to improve the circumstance so those things will happen again. So talk to us about, how do we end up in those situations?
Well, it's keeping up with the Jones. You know, here I am. I'm 21 years old, starting a business with a multimillionaire. I'm trying to keep up with, I can never catch up with him, but I'm trying to keep up with him. And I'm trying to drive the nice cars and, the girls, and, this is your younger days and stuff like that. And you're just living check to check, and I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. And I'm so happy that I found Dave Ramsey, which taught me to be debt free. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just trying to see what your neighbor's doing, see what your friends are doing, and just putting it on the credit card, doing whatever you have to do to have that perception that you have everything going on, but you're really broke inside.
Have the perception, but you're really broke inside. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's sit in that moment. Let's sit in that moment, because so many men across the country can feel what you just said. They can feel what you just said. We see it in today's society. So many people are checking out as a result of maybe everything outside looks good, but internally they feel a void. They feel like they're not enough, right?
That's right.
That's right. So we don't want to miss that key point. So what did you learn from that moment? I know you talk about Dave Ramsey, but what did you learn from that specific moment, and what are some of the things that you may do today? So instead of putting everything on a credit card, or maybe like spending all your money, what is one thing that you do today that we can encourage the listening audience, so someone who's maybe going through what you've gone through, to do differently? What can we do differently?
If you don't have the cash to do it, it's not the time. So I'm driving a beat up you know when I'm coming to your house, Darian, because you can hear my car. I'm driving a 2007 beat up Honda Civic, because that's all I can afford. And I got bigger dreams in my life than that at the moment. Not to say not having a nice car is that, but a lot of times people like, Andre, you got 13 employees. Your business is over $1 million in revenue. Right? We know you can afford it, but what's going on? What's up with this car? And it's just because I have other more important priorities in my life right now, and I refuse to get a car payment or a car lease at the moment.
Interesting. So being responsible and prioritizing the things that are important versus trying to live in a certain light or perception that everything is perfect and everything is great.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly. My son, private, my kids, private school. We have our 401k package. We got everything that we're trying to plan for the future. So, the famous quote is, live like no one else today, so that one day you can live like no one else tomorrow. And that's my motto.
Right. And what you just talked about there is something that's key. You're investing in the right things. So, and I want to underscore that. So you're investing in the right things. So instead of buying liabilities, you're saying you're now investing in your kids' future. You're putting money away to make sure they secure their future. Would that be something you would encourage the listening audience to do and be more intentional about?
Absolutely, man. It's all about sacrifice. I know so many of my old friends or high school friends, and again, not judging or anything like that. Everybody's the same. But here you got, like, they got nice stuff. They got nice houses. They got nice stuff. But then when you look deep inside, it's like, you really want to spend that money when your kids need tutoring or, whatever the case is. Or so I think, again, it's about prioritizing, and it's about not thinking materialistically all the time, and just doing what's really best for you, and not trying to keep up with the Joneses.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, man. Heart level for that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Rudy, go ahead.
So Reginald, I have a question for you. So I want to go back to the moment after you were let go.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the parking lot, and there is a time period between the moment that he let you go and the moment that you said, all right, I got some work to do. Right. Can you tell us a little bit about that in between? And then what did you do to shift on when you said, like, the quote in the movie, when you get knocked down? Because I know when you went out into the parking lot, you probably didn't say, well, when you get knocked down, you get back up, right?
Right.
Do that right away, right?
Right.
There was a time lapse that you had to go through. So talk a little bit about what that period was like for you, and then what happened to switch it on for you.
Yeah, so that's when I went to beast mode. I let go of my condo that I had in Lauderhill. I moved back, humbled myself, moved back to mama, in Miami Gardens, in the Florida room where I started. And honestly, I didn't have a life. And I was, I was young. I was, in my late 20s. So I basically just held my head down, girlfriends, nothing, just work, grind. I did any job. I took any job. You need your grandma needs her computer fixed, I'm there. It needs to be done on a Saturday, I'm there. Whatever I needed to do to gain that client's trust, and then to just build that business up. And that's what I had to do. And through that process, man, I failed so many times, but I just continue going.
So what kept you, because you said a couple of things that's really, really powerful. And I talked about Winston Churchill's quote that success is the ability to go from Philly to Philly without losing enthusiasm. So in the moment of getting fired, what drove you? Was it fear that drove you? The fear of loss? Was it the fear of disappointment? Did you have something to prove? Did you have your mother to think about? What was the motivating driver, first of all? And then secondly, for you, what was you talk about failing. What kept you going?
Well, I think it was that the fact that I was definitely disappointed. I was definitely angry, but then also being that I had faith behind me, I also saw it as a blessing, because this guy took me under his wing. No matter what happened and how it ended, he took me under his wing. He put me in a world that I would have never known. I would have never known that, instead of charging $20 to my, homeboy to fix a computer, I can charge $200. So I took that as a lesson that, okay, it didn't end up the way I wanted it to, but man, look at this blessing that this guy did for me. And now that I can go back to another business and not charge $20 an hour, but charge $100 an hour. And from there, I just took that passion, because again, I was working 7 days, 18 hours a week. So it was in me already, right? And as I mentioned, I grew up in Miami Gardens. My mom, she worked 3 jobs. Many times I didn't even see her some days, because she was just back to back to back. So I knew what it was to be poor. So when you start poor and you got to go back, it's not so bad. So I knew, and I could remember sometimes, literally, man, I had $1 or $2 to my name because I was waiting for clients to pay me. And I just had to, get some Roman noodles and just go back to the days of how it was. But I just had to do it because I had no choice. Like, what else was it going to be? When you're face down, all you can do is look up. And that's what I had to do. Either that or I was going to sink.
Well, I love that. And the reason why the reason why I bring that up is because so oftentimes when people do get into circumstances that, they're faced with adversity, but they're first with adversity, but certainly, you know, they don't have the thinking that's driving them towards moving forward, right? Oftentimes they're looking at, okay, why this happened to me? Or, oh my goodness, what if this situation? What if this situation? And so oftentimes it creates a mindset that paralyzes them instead of moving forward. So you certainly had a mindset that says, you know, if I change the way I look at things, things I look at will change. You had faith and you said, listen, I've been here before, I can rebuild it again. How important is that to have the right mindset in those circumstances?
If you have, man, that thing can drive you crazy. And especially in today's world with mental health and things like that, I mean, it literally, you can get depressed, you know, you can take it out. Like, you know, I could have went back. I know exactly where he lived. I knew the code to his alarm. Like, I could have done revenge, right? Because like, you screwed me, right? But, you know, but no, I didn't look at it that way. And that's why it's so important to have that mindset. And again, it was like, it was bad, but it was a blessing. That's what I saw. I saw the blessing. I would have never been exposed to this side of the city of being hanging around millionaires, learning how to speak properly and learning how to negotiate deals and things like that. I would have never learned that. He even told me that. I remember he's like, whatever you're learning at school, I can guarantee you by the end of the year, I'm going to top all of that.
Yep. Let me ask you a question, Andre. During that period of time too, and even now, how important is it for you? Two things. One, how important is it for you to have the right people around you? And number two, how important is it for you to have a mentor, a coach, or somebody that you can go to when you are in a situation where you need answers? Because let's face it, there's a million IT guys out there, and not all of them make it, and not all of them honestly become their own boss, if you will. Some of them are working from one end of the spectrum to the next. I know that because I was one of them. And still to this day, there's certain aspects to my business that every cycle you kind of have to go back and revamp. And so did you have a group of people around you, and or did you have a mentor that you can go to that help you navigate through that period of time in your life?
Yeah. So one thing that I call him my rich dad, right? So one thing that my rich dad taught me was that you had to have mentors. Even him I used to pay his bills. He was making, $7-8 million a year. He had mentors. He had people around him. And ever since then, I've had in different cycles of life, even now, I have a coach. I have someone with my fitness. I have a fitness coach, like all of these different things, because they've been there. They can tell you like, hey, you got to tweak this and things like that. Another perfect example is when I had to pivot again my business because I wanted to get out of residential, and I wanted to also get out of contracts or non-contract customers, just contract people that called you, once in a while. I had to have a coach to teach me how to do that pivot. And then going back to your other question about, getting, I would say it's like trusting people, because even though, again, what happened to me, but I didn't let that one person, then now I'm bitter about life and I'm bitter about everything. And I had to learn how to trust. I had to learn how to delegate. So I think that was also so important for me to be able to grow my business, because I knew that I couldn't do it with Andre being that one-man show.
That's good, man. I'm learning to value that now even more, because it's like you see this place that you want to go, this pinnacle that you want to get to, and you know that you need a team around you, but having that person that you can bring in to be able to, like you said, to be able to trust them to help the overall goal and vision, man, it's that can be a challenge. Talk to me a little bit about, and then I'm going to have you, Lamont, go next. Talk to me a little bit about vision when it comes to not just arc solvers, but even as a family man, as a faith man. Talk to me a little bit about how does vision play into all of these pivoting moments in your life. There's got to be a place where you say, you know what? I know I'm driving this Honda Civic right now. You know what I'm saying? I know mama wants the brand new Tesla Model X white on black rims. You know what I'm saying? But talk to me, how important is it for you, even with your employees right now, to have a vision and to be able to share that, and then keep pivoting, because those moments are not going to stop.
Definitely. So I believe in vision boards, but I do it a little differently. So if you go to my office, you'll see that my entire wall is covered with different things, that either lessons learned, things I need to do. So even here, I have one here that I always look at, and this is my 90-day goal. And I put what I want to do personally. I put what I want to do with my son. Like for example, I wanted to do studies with him, Bible studies with him on a daily basis. But we were struggling. So what did I do? I said, okay, you know what? How do I do this? Well, we both like to work out. So we made it a priority that says, well, before we work out, we're not going to work out unless we do our devotions together. So I think writing down what you want to do, and even if you miss it, because I'm all for failure. I tell my staff, fail, because if you're failing, you're trying.
Right. Fail hard, fail fast, and fail
yes,
off.
Yes, and of course, learn from your mistakes. Don't do it again, and all of that. But I believe in that. And when you trust your staff, like we have about 13 employees now, and I don't even look at what they're doing per se, because I trust and I let go. And if it comes back, we work on it. But they know that they can go ahead and tackle that ticket, tackle that project, and I'm going to be with them and I'm going to be supporting them, but they got to own it. And if they make a mistake, they're going to own it.
That's good, man. That's good. Go ahead, Lamont.
So you've been in business for 13 years. Can you talk about the 3 biggest pivots that you've had to make in your business in the last 13 years, and what lessons you learned from those?
Have you guys ever heard of the 80-20 rule?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So for those in the audience that may not have heard, it's the 80-20 rule in business says that 80% of your clients come from 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients. And when my coach showed me that, and we looked at our sales report, and we saw that our top 20 clients was our 80% revenue. And then when you looked at all of the other people, all of the other 80%, and you realize that, man, this is the ones that dispute the bills, that are hard to pay, that don't appreciate you. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we pivoted, and it was hard because I had to let some staff go to be able to do this. But we basically, and I say this compassionately, and I say this, with full respect to my previous clients, but we fired 80% of our clients, and we had to let go of staff. Because what I wanted to do was I wanted to concentrate on that 20%, because that 20% was the one that paid the bills on time, the ones that said thank you, the ones that appreciated you. And I have a quick success story. We were about 1.2 million at that time 4 years ago. And when we fired all of these people, it took us about 3-4 years just to get back to that. So we did a huge swing. So that would be one of my things that I would, suggest. And going back to Lamont, your question is the 80-20 rule, man. Look at that and have belief in yourself, because another thing too is we were not charging enough. We were afraid to raise our prices.
Yep.
Here you got inflation at the time, 3%, 4%, and we're just scared to raise our prices. Disney was raising their prices. Starbucks was raising their prices. Everybody's raising their prices. But you came to Arc Solvers. Oh, okay. Yeah, you've been paying that same rate since 5 years ago. We got you. We got you. And when we realized we were losing money, So that was yes. Go ahead.
Was it you per se that was afraid of that? Was it a value thing for you in terms of believing in yourself or your staff? What was that?
I didn't know my worth. Yeah. Who am I to charge the prices that the guys with the marble offices in Brickell charges? I'm just the guy who has an office in a rundown office in Miami Gardens.
Yeah.
And but I could do the work, and that's what mattered to the customer.
So let's stop there for a second and talk about that. So how do you evaluate worth now? Because man, I can tell you right now, That is a big conversation piece among us men, is that oftentimes we attach our self-worth to our net worth, right? And so if you're going through lean years, if you're not doing well, and you don't have the external strategies of success, you tend to evaluate your self-worth and your value based upon that. How have you been able to flip the script on that and say to yourself, hey, we are valuable just like everybody else with the marble offices and everything else. How have you been able to negotiate that in your mind? Give us the steps, give us the strategies, give us the way to think that through so that we act differently.
So I call it head trash. And I have my COO, Yoli, and she's the one who helps me with that. So what we started to do was because
shout out to Yoli. Shout out to Yoli. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Yoli.
Yeah, because what we now do is she is with me when I do my sales calls, because I'm the guy where, you're talking to me, you're talking to the owner, and now I'm going to give you a discount. I'm going to lower the bill a little. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get that sale. But now I have someone with me who's holding me accountable, and we're looking at the deal and we put in our calculators and formulas and everything we got. And we're like, no, this is the number we have to be at. And she's holding me accountable. So I think to get rid of that head trash, you need that second person to hold you accountable, or else, you're just going to succumb to it and you're just going to go back to your old ways. But so many times I've had instances where I wanted to charge this price, but I just couldn't express that to the customer because the head trash and the confidence and things like that just started to come into my mind again. And then here I had Yoli with me, and she was like, no, boss, this is what we're going to do. This is what you're going to say. So it's kind of like the pep rally person, that person that's just by you. So I think surrounding yourself with an accountability partner is probably the best way of saying it, that can be with you and help you get to that next level and take that head trash out.
No, I love that. Love that. And we emphasize accountability in our SMART principles, right? This is so critical in helping you to accelerate towards your goals. And sometimes having somebody be the bigger voice to your inner limitations, as you call it, head trash. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for validating, again, what we're doing here with Confidence Factor, because it's so important. Great stuff. Lamont, you had a question? Okay. How about you? Rudy?
Yeah. Let's talk about family, Reg. I know you do a lot in the community. You do a lot with your family. You guys are involved in a lot of a lot of things, or some things, I should say, not necessarily a lot of things, but some things. Right. How important is that balance for you, and how do you find that balance? How do you create that balance, or is there a balance at all? Some people, nowadays, I've heard, there's no such thing as balance. You just gotta, every day is a different day. Every experience, every day brings something new. How do you find yourself being able to navigate through family and things like that?
Yeah,
involved in the community.
Yeah, so I think there's a few different perspectives you have to look at it at. If you're 20 years old, no kids, no responsibilities, maybe you're still with mom and dad and things like that, you hustle, you make that 7 days, 18 hours a day work week. But when you start to have those responsibilities and you still have the dreams that you want to have and that vision that you want to have, you have to slow it down. So I'm going to give you, go ahead, pull the curtains back a little. And my goal that I have here said May 1st, 2022. And so far, I've only done 2 of those out of the 6. Because for me, I decided that being at 6 o'clock at the dinner table with my family was more important than these goals here. Because my son, he's 16 years old. A couple of years from now, he's going to be in college. My daughter's 5 years old. A couple of years, she's not going to want me to hold her like the way I'm holding her anymore and things like that. And man, there's nothing, there's no replacement, man. I don't care about remodeling my bathroom and getting a pergola in my backyard. And that's what, and getting the best car and things like that. Family, man, family. That's what I'm teaching my son right now. And what's a king without his queen, man? So you need your wife, you need your partner to also be like, hey, it's time, get off. That email can wait till tomorrow. Can't you delegate that? So, of course, your partner too as well. So my wife, Tanya, she, sometimes, I am working late, and sometimes you have to work late. It's understandable. Sometimes you got to work that Saturday. But, my wife, she also helps me with that balance. And as an owner and as someone who for probably 15 years didn't have a life, she's now just peeling that off of me, and now saying, hey, let's go out. Like, because before I didn't have a life. I didn't have a social life. And that's definitely changed since we've been married.
Mm. And one thing that just came to mind too, and a lot of people may not even realize it, there is a major difference between being a self-employed and being a business owner. Because especially when you start taking on employees, that's a whole different ball game, as a whole. And one of the guys I listen to a lot is Simon Sinek, and he talks a lot about, of course, leadership and things like that. What were some of the things that, even from before, that prepared you for now? Prepared you to be able to lead a team of 13 people, prepare you to be able to grow to whatever level that you want to grow to as far as leadership is concerned? What are some of the practices, or even maybe a book that's helped you, or something that you've heard that helps you in that area?
Yeah, so I was part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, which if you guys haven't heard about it, it's a great program that teaches about leadership. If you look at my books here, half of the, when I won't say half, I won't exaggerate, but I've read a lot of these books about leadership and things like that. And I think the biggest thing about, having that staff, and I used to be the one in the room that wanted to show off, oh yeah, how many employees do you have? How much revenue are you having? But what I realized, Rudy, is that, the top number doesn't matter. It's that bottom number. We're going back to being richer. The top number is not going to get you richer. It's your total revenue is not going to get you richer. It's your profit. It's what you're taking home. Yep. So I remember, and I still appreciate it. But I remember I would get the plaques behind me, and they want you to fill out your revenue, and like, oh, look at this, he shot up. But then they don't talk about that bottom number, that you really only made $20,000.
Wow.
And then some of that's got to go to taxes and stuff like that.
Man, say that again, boy. Man, you have a billion-dollar business.
Right. Take one on 10.
Hey, he got $1 billion in bills he's got to pay every, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, man. So I think that comes with maturity, man. Because there's a 25-year-old Andre out there right now and think that's what it is. Let me just get as much business as I can because I need to grow that top number. But then what that young Andre is going to realize is that it's the quality, not the quantity. Not all good money. Not all money is good money. Yep. Sometimes you got to tell the client no, because either the solution they want is wrong, or you just know that this is just not right, man. This is just not the type of work I do. But sometimes you just want to chase the money, but then realize later on, like, man, this thing was 20 hours. I quoted for 10, plus I gave the client a discount. And now you just wasted time. So quality over quantity.
Last thing I want to ask, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned during COVID? What is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
Oh, man. Well, two things. First, I realized that I didn't need an office. So we're saving about $2,800 a month because we don't have an office right now. We're a couple of months, actually, 2 more months, and our lease is out, but we renegotiated the lease.
Okay.
The second thing is, this is a worldwide economy. You don't have to have people only in South Florida. Really, I can tell you, man, we now have technicians in El Salvador. We have people answering our phone in Philippines. We have people in Jamaica. We have people in Jacksonville. And, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I can tell you the people in El Salvador is about 80% cheaper than the people in the US.
Wow.
We talked about VAs in the green room. You can get maybe, someone needs to help you with your social media or whatever, and you get a VA, someone in the Philippines that's going to charge $5, $6 an hour compared to $15, $20 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So I learned that we're a worldwide economy, and you didn't need to necessarily, and I'm pro USA and everything like that, but you didn't need to hire locally. You could look outside. You could look in Canada. I had someone develop something for me, and they were in Canada that I found them in, and they were half the price.
Wow. Our solver is international, baby. International.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And then the second thing too during COVID I learned is slow and steady wins the race.
Mhm.
It wasn't about, because obviously things slow down in COVID,
Right.
but I realized that slowing down and perfecting your business and perfecting your operations, it wasn't again all about the plaques. It's about making sure that you have that right team, making sure that you have that right process, and eventually you're going to be where you want to be, even if it takes a couple of more years. I have a lot of friends in our same circle in IT and cybersecurity, and they just went but in spending, they got the PPP money and all of this stuff, and like, okay, I got PPP $100,000. I'm gonna go ahead and put some, or the EID, and I'm gonna put 50,000 in marketing, and they just blew the money.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a very important point, because there's such a thing as either growing too fast.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, we struggle in our businesses because we don't take the time to put the proper systems and infrastructure in place, so that when we do get all this influx of business, we can support it at a very, very high level, right? And that's very important for everyone to understand, that there's such a thing as growing your business too fast. So put the right foundation in place so you build something long lasting. So Andre, thank you so much for sharing that. That is a very, very important point. Very critical point. Yeah. Awesome, Woody.
So
Lamont, go ahead, man. Take it away.
Yeah, man. So we really appreciate you being here. I got one last question for you.
Sure.
All right. You just had your 50th, your 40th birthday. All right. I just had
come
my
on.
50th birthday.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
All right. 10 years from now. Let's go into the future.
Yeah.
Who is Reginald Andre? What's happening in your life? What's happening in your business? What's happening in your family?
I want the business to be able to run without me being there. We'll be over 5 million in revenue. And remember when I told you I wanted to become an English teacher? I'm going to go back to teach, because I feel that that is my passion. And there's something great about helping a business owner stay protected, keeping their cybersecurity and everything safe, and making sure that they continue to make their millions. But there's something else when you can help a little Johnny and all the little Andres that people that helped me. And I feel like there's nothing better than helping the next generation. So some way another, I see myself in a classroom. I may just be dropping in. I may, kind of like your grandma, they're going to watch the baby, but they're not going to stay there the whole day. They're going to give it right back to you in 2 or 3 hours. But I really want to see myself educating. My wife and I, we have a human trafficking or anti-human trafficking organization, the Mavuno Project. So I see myself just helping my community, because God has blessed me so much, and you can't take any of this with you. So if I can have the business, and I have my COO, and then I have my CTO and things like that running the business, I can then step back. I'll get my shareholders. I have my retirement. And then from there, I'm helping the community locally and internationally.
That is beautiful. And what I love about what you just shared, Andre, is that you've given us the blueprint for what it looks like to be someone not just of success, but have a plan for significance, right? I mean, ultimately, we all want to get there to a place of significance. And significance to me is about contribution. It's about stepping back full circle into what you originally were going to start with, which is teaching. And coming back full circle, and that being the significant part of your life. So that is a beautiful story. It's a great way to wrap up, man. Thank you so much for the man that you are. Thank you so much for not giving up. Thank you for, as Winston Churchill says, a man of success, the ability to go from failure to failure without losing one's enthusiasm, and putting the right priorities in place and being an example for all of us to follow. So we thank you so much for being an amazing guest. Great interview, great insights. And we look forward to having you back, my brother.
All right, anytime, man. Thank you. We're going to do it one more time before we go.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Before you go, tell everybody if anybody needs your services, anybody want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
Oh, absolutely. So the business name, as it says here, is arcsolvers.com. And a cool feature I have is, man, my calendar is on the website. So we can book a 15-minute call, and we'll do a Zoom and we'll talk. So arcsolvers.com. Or you can give us a call at 786-664-8275 for all your cybersecurity and technology needs.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, brother. And yes, we will give you a heart level,
Heart level, baby. Heart level,
for being here, brother.
Thank you. Stay back, man. We'll be right with you.
Okay.
Man, that was a great show.
Oh man, powerful. So many nuggets, so many lessons, and I love that within his story, we're able to find, as we like to say, the heart level content that really transforms life. So we want to thank you guys, those of you who are listening in. We Val Marie, Shay, Alexis, Tanya, of course.
Shout out to the Queen Tanya, holding it down, boy. Behind every strong man, there's a strong woman. All right. Shout out to Queen Tanya.
Absolutely. So we just want to shout out to all of you guys who are listening and watching and supporting us here in Confidence Factor. And of course, share with us in the comment section, what is your biggest nugget from what Andre shared today? Because he shared so many great nuggets, so many life transformation lessons that we can implement, and again go from just not having success but also having significance. So I love where he's going next 10 years, and I look forward to seeing that trajectory of his life. It's a beautiful thing.
One of the things that I love is when we have these conversations, what comes out of that, and the as Bobby likes to say, the underlying thread that you see in every entrepreneur, especially men, is value. We need to have a value show, because let me tell you something. There are some of you out there that should be charging a lot more than that you're charging, not because you just can and you could run wild with what you have, but because of what you provide. And I was one of those guys that went back to my books, as Andre said, going back and revisiting, went back to my books. I had a client, I'd been charging them the same rate for over 7 years. The same rate for over 7 years. And I was afraid to even have that conversation with them 7 years later. I'm like, why? When I finally had that conversation, I was so stoic. I said it. I said, you've been paying the same. It's going to change. Get ready next month. It's going to change. And I didn't move a muscle. And whether they stayed or not, it's not that I didn't care, but I understood the difference in the shift that I was making. And so many of us out there needs to be able to make that shift, not because you just want to charge more, but because you understand what you have is special, and you are a specialist in what you do. I learned this from a coach one day. They said to me, just because you haven't done this part of your business, it doesn't mean you don't bring value here. And sometimes what you're actually asking for is that Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, the reason why I'm charging more is because I understand what I bring to the table is giving you results. And I'm telling you that this $1 pen can be worth $1,000 to somebody if it's producing the result that they're looking for.
And Rudy, you just said something very, very important. I think oftentimes we confuse market value with self-value.
Yeah.
We try to combine both, right? We try to make what we charge a reflection of our value versus it based upon the value that we're providing to the client, the transformation we're providing the client, the overall result that they're getting as a result of the problem that we're solving or solution that we're providing. And so I agree with you. I think we need to have a conversation around that, because we need to separate, first of all, this idea that because I feel like I am not valuable, that means I can't have value in my business. That's a conversation.
Let me tell you something. Imagine you go to the movie theater and say, man, I ain't paying $1 for this water. I ain't paying $5 for this water bottle. I'm going to drive 2 miles down the street and go to Costco so I could buy it. Like that make no sense. But guess what? We paid $5 for that same water bottle all day, every day. Why? The value is in the time that you're going to be saving for that period of time. Lamar, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, man. I just had a guy book my toppest my most expensive package and then tell me you need to double your prices.
When your clients are telling you that, brother,
you already know.
Hey, I would turn around and say, you know what, you're right. how about you pay double today? How about that? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you ain't gonna go for that. He said that.
Right.
He's like, that's for the next
Next
client.
person.
The
That's
next
what the next
guy.
person. Yeah. Man, but this was a great show tonight. Again, Reginald Andre, Arc Solvers, man. Listen, this is what I got from this conversation. When I boil it all down, this is what I got. Reginald Andre is a confidence factor man. Okay. That's what I got.
Hard level, baby. Hard level.
A confidence factor man. We appreciate you being here. Do we want to do the inspiration injection?
Go for it.
Make it
Our
happen.
inspiration injection this year is embrace the power of pivot moments. They are the catalysts that propel entrepreneurs to transform challenges into triumphs. ChatGPT.
That was
We're going to see a lot of those, boy. Let me tell you something.
Hey, why not? Why not?
Hey, there's some people out there right now asking, who is ChatGPT? I've never heard of that author.
So this
Shout
is
out
great...
to Mr. GPT. You know what I'm saying?
This is a great show. We're glad that you came and stopped by to watch our show. We'll be back next Tuesday at 6:30. And as we say here in Confidence Factor, in everything that you do, we always do what?
Keep it
Hard
level.
level.
See you all next week.
All right.